So I know we've been talking a lot of business and sales topics on this podcast vlog lately, and that's a good thing. But I there's just something about what happened at the Super Bowl 59, that kind of just sticks out to you, man. It was just such a dramatic game, and I thought I would just give one hopefully lesson, hopefully pointer to the football fans out there that we're watching the game, we're paying attention, are paying attention to the game, and I think looking back at what I saw from the replay of the game, big game, Eagles versus Chiefs. Obviously, I expected the Eagles to do really well, but I also expected the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a very resilient team, and even though I was rooting against the Chiefs for this Super Bowl, because it's a good thing to have a change, of who is winning the big championship in football. Like if one team just wins everything, after a while it gets a bit boring, right? Um, Even though I was rooting against the Chiefs, I knew that they are a resilient team, so I expected them to come out and do really well and potentially win. That would have been a good thing, historic, because if a team can three-peat, you know, as much as you don't want every year to be some new team three-peating, if a team can three-peat once in a while, it sets a new mark in the quality of football, in the quality of the game. Like everybody sits up like, that's unbelievable. Kind of like how you sit up and notice when someone is doing something in a great way, even if they're winning everything. But because it's so rare, you kind of have to respect that, and it can elevate the entire game, the entire league, and that's a good thing. Um, so I truly expected them to do really well. Now the way that the game played out was I think I think they performed a little bit worse than I would have actually expected, but that's partly just because of how dominant the Eagles were. A lot of credit, of course, to Jalen Hurts and those guys on the offense, but also, of course, a big one to the Eagles defense. You gotta give a lot of props to that. And so that actually brings me to where I want to kind of focus, which was, so that's an observation you see, but the other observation you see too, though, if you really watch that game, is that Patrick Mahomes, um, well, there was a lot of pressure on him. He got sacked a lot of times. There was a lot of pressure, just these blitzes coming at him and rushing at him and everything. But when you look at how he was fighting in the third and fourth quarter after a what would have been termed a terrible game for his offense and for his team, and some would have even said a terrible game for him, but they ain't really looking at the stats. They ain't really looking at the stats. So when you see that fighting spirit, man, that's just something that stood out to me when I look back at the game. Like, wow, I really like that. And I think you see it in other big matchups, big games that Mahomes has lost, like when he lost that big matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers some years ago, and the Chiefs lost that game. But what you saw was Mahomes was being sacked. It was almost like very similar to this Eagles game. Was a dominant defense that had Mahomes in their sights, and that were just trying to target Mahomes at, at every snap, right? um, and so you kind of needed him to have a really effective running back to hand over the ball to, somebody that could just tear the game up and kind of confuse the defense, like maybe somebody like a dominant Marshawn Lynch in there, or even a Saquon Barkley, right? Somebody that makes a defense have to sit back and say, we better best be on our best guard. This guy might burst out. We better make sure we can contain him. And then that just creates a little bit more space for the quarterback. But on his own account, Mahomes was just fighting almost like a single-handed gunfighter that's just going up against a whole army of enemies. And I think he did a really great job of being creative. Because when you look at him scrambling, his offensive line is breaking down. These guys are getting to him, but he's able to get the ball out of his hands, and he actually makes some superhuman throws. Um, and that's what I saw, guys. Is I saw a guy that's a real fighter, and that's what I really like about this. Is in the fourth quarter, the Chiefs actually outplayed the Eagles in the fourth quarter, outscored them. Granted, it was the only quarter that the Chiefs won, but they really played brilliantly. And to have that composure to be able to throw the ball well and that well score multiple touchdowns in the fourth quarter when you're losing by a huge margin and you can't get back, you can't win, but be able to get back and set yourself in the game. That's Patrick Mahomes for you. And that's why I think, guys, don't underestimate Patrick Mahomes because of what happened at Super Bowl 59. That guy, as long as he plays football, as long as uh, the Chiefs put a good team around him, that guy is gonna win Super Bowls. That guy is capable of winning Super Bowls any day. That guy is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And I don't mean to say that he's yet reached the level of Joe Montana, let alone greatest all time Tom Brady, right? Um, but he is inching his way up the charts of greatest all time quarterbacks in the game. And a lot of people want to take lessons from a win, like winning the Super Bowl, this and that. But the really great quarterbacks too, the really great players, there's gonna be a lot of lessons from them when they actually lose. Like you can actually see they played their heart out in the face of adversity. They might have lost just because, in this particular instance, the Chiefs really didn't have a good answer for the Eagles defense. Like the offensive line wasn't able to hold up against the Eagles. So what do you expect a quarterback to do, right? He's having to make really hard throws under duress. Like he's having to scramble and look for solutions in his mind when there are none on the field, right? He's having to do the impossible, and sometimes that's really what reveals the character of a player. And I think when you look at what Mahomes did, you actually see this is really one of the greatest players to ever play the game of football. And I think you're gonna see a whole lot of him. That's what I had for you guys.